Wanderlust Hearts. Chapter 1, First Meeting. The airport was a storm of sound and light. Camera shutters clicked like 1,000 tiny explosions, fans shouted names, and the hum of anticipation hung in the air like static. Jihoon stepped through the sliding doors with the practiced ease of someone who had lived in this chaos for years. His sunglasses shielded his eyes, his tailored coat draped perfectly over his shoulders, and his stride was confident, measured. He was Jihoon, the actor who had dominated screens for nearly a decade, the man whose charisma seemed untouchable. He knew how to command a room, even one as vast and chaotic as an international terminal. But today was different. Today, he wasn't alone. Jihoon, this is Minjae, the producer said, gesturing toward a tall young man waiting just beyond the crowd. Minjae bowed politely, his movements precise, but not stiff. When he straightened, his gaze met Jihoon's directly. No nervous flicker, no hesitation. His eyes were sharp, his smile confident. Jihoon tilted his head, intrigued. A rookie, huh? Hope you can keep up. Minjae's lips curved. I was about to say the same thing. The cameras caught it. The subtle spark between them, the way Jihoon's eyebrow arched in amusement, the way Minjae's posture radiated self-assurance. It was unscripted, electric, the kind of moment producers dreamed of. On the plane to Kyoto, Jihoon leaned back in his seat, scrolling through his phone. Minjae sat beside him, flipping through a guidebook with quiet focus. You actually study before trips? Jihoon asked, glancing sideways. Minjae didn't look up. I like knowing where I'm going. Makes the experience richer. Jihoon chuckled. You'll learn fast that variety shows don't care about your plans. They'll throw curveballs at you just to see how you react. Then I'll react well, Minjae replied smoothly, finally meeting his gaze. That's the point, isn't it? Jihoon tilted his head, intrigued. Most rookies tried too hard to impress him or shrank under his presence. Minjae did neither. He was confident, but not arrogant. Calm, but not passive. It was refreshing. When they landed, Kyoto greeted them with crisp air and the faint scent of cedar. The streets bustled with tourists and locals alike, lanterns swaying gently above narrow alleys. The first challenge was simple: find a local delicacy and convince strangers to share a meal. Jihoon, ever the charmer, approached a group of elderly women outside a tea shop. His Japanese was polished enough to impress, and soon they were laughing, inviting him to sit. Cameras zoomed in on his easy smile, his graceful gestures. Minjae, meanwhile, wandered into a ramen stall, striking up conversation with the chef. His energy was different, less polished, more genuine. He asked questions, listened intently, laughed easily. Within minutes, he was slurping noodles with locals, his laughter ringing out. The producers whispered behind the cameras. This is gold. Later, when the two regrouped, Jihoon raised an eyebrow. Not bad for your first day. Minjae grinned. You too. Though I think my ramen beat your tea. Jihoon laughed, the sound warm. We'll let the viewers decide. That night, they checked into a traditional inn. Tatami mats lined the floors, sliding doors creaked softly, and the faint scent of cedar lingered in the air. The crew filmed them as they unpacked, teasing each other about who had more luggage. You brought 3 suitcases? Minjae asked incredulously. Jihoon shrugged. I like options. Minjae smirked. Or you're just high maintenance. Jihoon shot him a look, but there was no malice in it. Careful, rookie. You're poking the bear. Maybe the bear needs poking, Minjae replied, his tone playful but firm. The crew stifled laughter. The dynamic was clear. Jihoon, the seasoned star, used to being in control. Minjae, the newcomer, unafraid to challenge him. It wasn't rivalry, it was balance. Later, when the cameras were off and the crew had retreated, Jihoon lingered in the common room. Minjae was there too, sipping tea, his posture relaxed. You don't get nervous, do you? Jihoon asked suddenly. Minjae looked up, surprised by the question. Why would I? Most rookies do. Especially around me. Minjae's gaze softened, but his voice stayed steady. Respect doesn't mean fear. I respect you, Jihoon SSI. But I also respect myself. That's why I don't shrink. Jihoon studied him for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. You're interesting. Minjae chuckled. I'll take that as a compliment. The next morning, the show filmed their first official travel montage. Jihoon and Minjae walked side by side through the streets, sampling street food, posing for photos, laughing at failed attempts to wear yukata properly. Fans watching later would notice the subtle things. The way Jihoon's hand brushed against Minjae's when they reached for the same skewer, the way Minjae leaned closer when Jihoon cracked a joke, the way their eyes lingered just a second too long. But in the moment, it was just natural. Two confident men, meeting for the first time, finding rhythm in each other's presence. That evening, as they prepared for the next leg of the journey, Jihoon caught Minjae staring out the window at the lanterns glowing in the night. Thinking about tomorrow? Jihoon asked. Minjae shook his head. Just depreciating this. It feels surreal, you know? Traveling, filming, meeting you. I used to watch your dramas in college. Jihoon raised an eyebrow. So you're a fan? Minjae smiled. I was. Now you're my colleague. Jihoon chuckled. Colleague, huh? That's one way to put it. Minjae turned to him, his expression steady. Or partner. We're in this together, aren't we? Jihoon's smirk faded into something softer. Yeah, we are. And so it began, not with fireworks or grand gestures, but with quiet confidence. Two men, both strong in their own right, stepping into a journey that would test them, challenge them, and ultimately bring them closer than either expected. The cameras rolled, the lanterns flickered, and somewhere in the distance, the first threads of love began to weave themselves into the story. Chapter 2: Kyoto Adventures. The morning sun spilled across Kyoto, painting tiled rooftops in gold and warming the crisp winter air. Jihoon stretched lazily, his hair tousled from sleep, while Minjae was already dressed, flipping through the day's itinerary with quiet focus. You're up early, Jihoon muttered, rubbing his eyes. Minjae smirked. Some of us don't need 3 alarms to wake up. Jihoon shot him a look. Careful, rookie. You're getting bold. Boldness is survival, Minjae replied smoothly, slipping the guidebook into his bag. The crew chuckled behind the cameras. Their dynamic was already becoming a highlight, Jihoon's seasoned charm against Minjae's sharp wit. Their first stop was Fushimi Inari Shrine, famous for its endless rows of vermilion torii gates. The challenge? Race to the halfway point while interacting with tourists along the way. Jihoon, confident in his stamina, took off with long strides, his coat flaring behind him. He greeted visitors with practiced ease, his Japanese polished enough to impress. Tourists laughed, snapped photos, and waved him on. Minjae, however, took a different approach. Instead of rushing, he paused to greet a group of students, asking them about their favorite foods. He laughed at their answers, posed for selfies, and even joined in a quick chant they taught him. By the time Jihoon reached the checkpoint, slightly winded, Minjae arrived moments later, surrounded by a small crowd of tourists who had joined him along the way. Jihoon raised an eyebrow. You turned it into a parade. Minjae grinned. Variety shows are about entertainment, not speed. I win. Jihoon laughed, shaking his head. You're dangerous. Next was the Nishiki Market, a labyrinth of stalls selling everything from pickled vegetables to fresh seafood. The mission? Sample 5 foods chosen by locals. Jihoon approached a vendor selling grilled eel. His charm worked instantly. The vendor offered him a skewer, and Jihoon bit into it with practiced elegance. Cameras zoomed in on his satisfied expression. Meanwhile, Minjae was handed a plate of takoyaki. He popped one into his mouth, only to yelp when it burned his tongue. The crowd erupted in laughter, and Minjae laughed with them, fanning his mouth dramatically. Jihoon watched from across the stall, amused. Smooth rookie. Minjae grinned through the pain. Comedy is part of the job. They continued sampling. Jihoon tried pickled cucumbers. Minjae braved wasabi peas, both of them daring each other to eat stranger and spicier foods. Their laughter echoed through the market, drawing more attention than the challenge itself. As the day wore on, They visited Kayamizadera Temple, its wooden stage overlooking the city. The producers asked them to write wishes on Emma plaques. Jihoon wrote quickly, his handwriting neat, his expression unreadable. Minjae took longer, his brow furrowed in thought. What did you write? Jihoon asked. Minjae smirked. Wouldn't you like to know? Jihoon leaned closer, his voice low. I could guess. Minjae met his gaze, unflinching. Try me. Jihoon studied him for a moment, then smiled. Something about proving yourself. But not to others, to yourself. Minjae blinked, surprised. You're sharper than you look. Jihoon chuckled. I'll take that as a compliment. That evening, they returned to the inn. The crew filmed them trying on yukata, laughing at each other's clumsy attempts to tie the obi. You look like you're drowning in fabric, Jihoon teased. Minjae shot back. At least I don't look like a grandpa. The banter was effortless, natural. Fans watching later would replay these moments endlessly, dissecting every glance, every smile. When the cameras finally turned off, Jihoon and Minjae sat outside, watching fireflies dance in the garden. You're different from what I expected, Jihoon admitted. Minjae tilted his head. What did you expect? A rookie who'd be nervous, maybe starstruck. Someone who'd follow my lead. Minji's voice was steady. I don't follow. I walk beside. Jihoon looked at him, really looked, and for the first time, he felt the shift. This wasn't just a rookie. This was someone who matched him. Confidence for confidence, strength for strength. And Jihoon found himself smiling. Good. I like that. Chapter 3. Hiking in the Alps. The crisp mountain air